2 years might not seem like a long time, but for a distro hopper, it is eternity. So 2 years ago today, I started using openSUSE. Now, at the time, I was at a period in my life where I wanted to settle down, and I was trying to challenge myself to do so. My first attempt at this challenge was a 6 months challenge with Red Core Linux, and I failed that spectacularly. I only ended up using it for 2 months. I only ended up using it until I basically broke it on my own and then gave up completely. It was a pathetic effort at a challenge. I'll freely admit that. And it was such a bad effort. Basically, after that, I gave up on challenges for a little while. I hopped to Fedora, I went to Arco, I went to Fedora again, I went to Arch. I basically went back to distro hopping. But in July of 2023, I was back at the point where I just wanted something that would work, something that I could sink my teeth into for a long period of time and call it my distro for a while and just kind of learn it and just be happy for a bit. I thought it was going to be Debian, but then I, managed to break Debian, which is an accomplishment all on its own. So I decided to move to openSUSE, and I challenged myself on July 8th of 2023 to use openSUSE Tumbleweed for 2 years. Now, I had basically no rules other than I needed to use openSUSE Tumbleweed on my main computer as my daily driver. I didn't set myself any rules for reinstalling, so I did manage to reinstall it a couple times just for various reasons, and maybe we'll talk more about that here as we go along. But I've used openSUSE on this computer, only openSUSE on this computer for 2 years straight. Now, when I announced this challenge, there were, shall we say, some doubters, some haters, if you will. Now, these haters, some of whom I consider friends, the bastards, said I couldn't do this. They said there was no chance that I was going to make it 2 years on openSUSE for various reasons. They said Zypper was too slow. They said there wasn't enough packages. They told me that I just was the kind of person who needed to distro hop for various reasons. There were all sorts of stupid things that they told me, and that just spurred me to prove them wrong. Although, I mean, there's obvious reasons otherwise why I stayed here, but I had a fire lit underneath me when they told me that I couldn't do it. So here's me saying, na 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 boo boo, I made it for 2 years. Now, I have some things to say about openSUSE. I've said many things about openSUSE over the course of the last 2 years. I've made probably 15 videos on openSUSE over the course of that time period. And the vast majority of that stuff has been glowing. Like, so much so, the whole pointing to a sticker thing has become a meme at this point. I bought a sticker. It says openSUSE on it. I obviously think openSUSE is good. I wouldn't have bought the sticker otherwise. But I have used this distro and I've learned it. Like, I wouldn't say I'm an expert at openSUSE. I'm not a developer, so I couldn't get into the code and tell you how it works. But from a user perspective, if there's something that goes wrong, there's a good chance I'm going to be able to fix it. If I can't fix it, then it's some weird thing that I've never experienced before. Having that experience, having that whole knowledge in me, the feeling of knowing something that I know how to use this distro is a revelation, right? Because I never have had that before. I've never had the whole, man, if this thing with your package manager goes wrong, how do you fix it? If Zypper breaks, I know how to fix it because I've seen Zypper break a couple times and I've managed to fix it. A lot of times it's a repository error and I just have to remove the repository or whatever, So I know how to do that. And that feeling is good. It feels good. It feels like an accomplishment. Now, for those of you who've used Debian since the 90s, this isn't a new feeling probably for you. And maybe you don't even get that kind of thing because you're not a distro hopper. I'm a distro hopper. Using the same distro for 2 years is an accomplishment for me. So before you get into the comment section, well, I've used distro this for past 10 years. First off, good for you. I congratulate you on that, but for me, this was an accomplishment. So I went a little asshole like there. I apologize. But anyways, so there are a few things that I need to say about openSUSE now that I've rambled for 5 minutes without basically saying anything. First off, Zypper. Zypper at a point at most of the time during this whole challenge was the slowest package manager I'd ever experienced and anyone else ever had either. So the whole thing was like, oh, Zypper is so slow, it's unusable. Was mostly true for a lot of people. A lot of people would tell you that Zypper is so slow they just couldn't use it. Well, I'm happy to report they fixed it. It is phenomenally fast. You're going to be seeing some B-roll here in a second of me doing an update. All of that is in real time. So there are a couple things you'll need to know when I say they fixed it. First off, the mirrors are still a little slow. They don't have as many mirrors as Arch does, so you're just going to have to deal with that. But once the mirror stuff is out of the way, once it's refreshed, the actual downloading of packages, the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my God, what happened? Did it break? How's it done already? It took, I think it was like a 600 package update, downloaded in less than a minute and a half. It was insane. Usually I have to set an update to go, and then I had to go do something else and wait for it. This was like it was done before I could turn away. It was insane. Now it still has to install one thing at a time, but every package manager has to do that. So the fact that they've made it this fast is great. And this is me talking directly to the openSUSE developers. I didn't think you had it in you. In fact, I said it blatantly that the parallel downloads things was never going to happen. I made a video about it probably 8 or 9 months ago, where I said the parallel downloads thing's never going to happen. They've been working on it since 2016. Obviously, they've stopped working on it. I was told by one developer or someone who claimed themselves to be a developer with openSUSE that they'd actually given up and moved on to micro OS and just had stopped working on Zypper completely. That's obviously was someone just pulling my chain. And the fact that they delivered it while I was still using it, I mean, seriously, good job, guys. I'm so just good job. So there's that. If you haven't tried openSUSE with the new Zypper, go do it. Especially if you've tried Zypper before and were upset about how slow it was. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. So that's one thing. Another thing, Yast is going away. I don't really care about that news, to be honest with you. I know that they're replacing it with something else, or they're having debates on what to replace it with. I think I could count the number of times I actually used Yast on one hand. I just always do things with a terminal, and that's the way that I do things. So I never have to go into Yast unless I absolutely had to. Usually that was to install a pattern of some sort, and most of the times you install a pattern, you realize it doesn't include all the things you actually need to do that thing. So Yast was just, it was time for it to go. So I'm glad that they're moving on from that. So overall, I need to address those two things. A couple other things that are more repetitive from my previous videos, and I'll just go over them, get them out of the way real quick. Stability. This has been the best Linux experience of my life. I've said that many times before, and it remains true. I've had to reinstall 3 times, and only one of those times really was a critical error. And I blame that on Flatpak and my hard drive failing at the exact same time. I don't know what caused the other. It's probably just the hardware started failing, and that's the reason why the whole system crashed, which makes more sense now that I think of it. So that's the only time, and that's a hardware problem, not an openSUSE problem. The other 2 times were just because I had 6,000 packages on my system, and I was much too lazy to go, clear that shit out. So overall, this has been a phenomenally stable experience. And I'm going to say something now that's going to piss Drew off. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Drew is my fellow podcast host, and he's a diehard Debian fan, so much so that he has hats. They're a rarity, but he has hats. But he's a big Debian guy. And here's what I'm going to say. openSUSE Tumbleweed can be as stable as Debian, and it has been for me. That's a phenomenal statement given how the reputation of Debian is, but I believe that it's true. Now, is it going to be that stable for everyone? I can't talk about that because I'm not everyone. But for me, this has been more stable than Debian was when I tried Debian. Now, granted, I didn't use Debian long term, at least not as long term as this, but still, for me, this has been the most stable experience I've ever had. It's been phenomenal. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Neither is Debian, but this has not been a perfect experience. So let's talk about some of the things that have gone wrong. The lack of an AMD GPU package that you can just download just pisses me off, because I really wanted to use DaVinci Resolve on here long term, and I couldn't get that to work. I got to work for a little while, but it just kind of you need some packages, and it's just not possible for me to install those things. Other people have. I haven't been able to do that. The brief time I had an NVIDIA card in my PC was also not a fantastic experience because the NVIDIA driver that they were pushing out at that time was 2 versions behind and didn't work well with my particular graphics card. So that caused me to put my AMD card back in, and it was not a good experience. And installing drivers like the NVIDIA drivers is not an easy thing. I hope whatever they replace Yast with has a dedicated driver section that has a button that says install NVIDIA drivers. Like, I want that thing to be astonishingly simple. I don't want to have to deal with going to select a pattern, install NVIDIA, having to choose what version of the driver I want. I don't want to have to choose what version. I just give me the version that works with my card. You can fast fetch and neo fetch and all those can tell what card I have. Surely openSUSE can too. And you guys know better what version I need than I do. So just choose the right version and install it. It's not that hard to do. I understand why it's not installed out of the box. I know how averse openSUSE is to installing anything proprietary like codecs or stuff like that. So I understand that. But for those of us who need to install NVIDIA, it needs to be a easier process than it is. By far, I think openSUSE is the worst distro to use if you're going to use NVIDIA. And I've used Fedora. Like, Fedora, it used to have that crown for me, but openSUSE has it now. Like, it's not a good solution. Now, is it impossible? No, you can do it, but you almost certainly have to use Yast, and that's going away. And it wasn't easy to use when it was here, so it was definitely not a new user-friendly kind of thing. So NVIDIA was definitely something that went really wonky for me, and even now I have my like $600 NVIDIA graphics card up here on the shelf collecting dust because I can't use it. Or more, I'm disinterested in using it because I didn't want to have to go through the process of finding the right driver. So there's that. Another thing that I will say that I've had some peculiarities with is with codecs themselves, and that's I'm leaning towards blaming most of that on DaVinci Resolve because that's usually where I encounter that kind of stuff. But I really, really wish that codecs were easier to install. The tool, and really this could be solved. I understand that they don't want to include codecs out of the box. Like, I get that part. But the tool that you use to install it's not even installed out of the box. And it's a shame because OPI, which installs stuff from the Open Build service and from the Pacman repository, is a phenomenal tool. It is like Yay or Paru on Arch. Now, is the Open Build service the AUR? No, they don't compare really in terms of package quantity, but it still broadens the horizons of openSUSE, and it's not enabled out of the box. It's hidden. They don't do anything to promote it. The Open Build service, I would argue, is probably one of the best things about openSUSE, and chances are, if you just started using Tumbleweed, you have no clue what it is. I will probably, my biggest failing during this whole challenge is not actually doing a video on the Open Build service. I should rectify that sometime in the next couple of weeks, and I probably will, just because I should do that. But the Open Build service, for those of you guys who don't know, is basically a community repository similar to Fedora's Copper that allows maintainers of packages, not necessarily developers, but maintainers of packages to upload to a repository hosted by openSUSE. And then you can subscribe to that repository using an Zypper. Only Zypper can't access the Open Build service. It has to have a go-between, which is called OPI. Now, that long-winded thing, fine, you need OPI in order to install the codecs, which you need to play all sorts of things. And it's not installed by default. So not only can you not install the codecs right away, you have to install another tool, you also don't have access to the Open Build service. Now, I know that they throw caution towards the Open Build service because it's community maintained, similar to the AUR. So they're basically doing the same thing that Arch does by disabling the AUR. But man, I really feel that it should be at least told about. Like they should tell people about it more often because it is so damn good. And I'm very, very disappointed in the fact that they don't. And honestly, I will take part of the fault because I should have made a video and at least told my audience about it, and I will do that before too long. So there's that. I should talk a little bit about the community, just kind of some of the things that I've said before, but some final thoughts on this thing. I have talked to many developers in the openSUSE community. I've talked to many users of openSUSE. I've talked to a lot of people in the forums and on the Discord server. Now, I'm not active in those places as much as I was when I first started because it's just been a stable experience. I haven't really needed to go do anything there other than help out a few people who are having problems. But overall, the community has been fantastic. It's been such a joy to talk to so many people who just love this distro to pieces. I mean, just so many people are so enthusiastic about this distro, and not in the way that the Arch guys are, or the NixOS guys are, or even the Debian guys are. You know, you meet a lot of people who are fans of a distro, and they just won't shut the hell up about it. I bought a sticker, by the way, so I'm kind of one of those guys. But so many people just use this distro and they're so happy about it, and yeah, they'll talk to you about it, but they're not gonna tell you to go use it. You know, they'll just tell you how good it is, and they'll, this thing works really, really well. You should try it, and then they'll move on with their day. Now there are assholes, of course, in the community, just like there are within any community, but overall, fantastic people, and the developers are very responsive to helping people. Like if you're in the support channel of the Discord, there are developers in there almost 24/7. Like it's kind of bonkers, and it's not like they're just sitting around saying go read the fucking manual. They help people. It's like, here's how to do this. Here's what's wrong. How can I help? Kind of thing. And it's amazing. And I have said before that the forums can be a little bit brusque, and I blame that on the whole German thing. But overall, I haven't experienced a community that has been this welcoming in terms of, if you have a question, there's going to be somebody to help. Now, maybe you'll get a bad response every once in a while, but the vast majority of people have just been so good. And that leads me to my final thoughts on this before we talk about the future, which I know is what the vast majority of you are probably waiting for. I don't know why more people don't use openSUSE. I don't know if it's the Zypper thing. I don't know if it's because it's European. Or I don't know if it's because of the political nonsense that goes on with the openSUSE board. I don't know if it's because of Lunduk. We can blame Lunduk for everything, apparently. I don't know if that's true or not, but sure. I don't know why more people don't use openSUSE Tumbleweed and other variations of openSUSE. This is phenomenal. It is a great distro. On par with any distro out there. I would put it head to head with everything, and I would expect it to win and beat all of those things in my experience. So I don't get it. Like I don't know what's causing more people not to try this thing out. I don't know if it's because of the installation problems that a lot of people face because of the NVIDIA stuff. I don't know if it's because of the NVIDIA stuff, because Yast is old and it's just hard to install the stuff that you need in order to get your hardware to work. I don't know. I wish I could tell you, and I think with Yast going away and hopefully them replacing it with something more user-friendly, maybe there's a chance for more people to experience this. Now, is openSUSE a new user distro? No, it's not a new user distro. I would not put this on my mother's PC or my dad's laptop. But for my fellow Linux nerds, if you will, I would recommend openSUSE wholeheartedly. Like, go try this thing, especially now that Zypper is no longer the slowest thing in the known universe. I don't know what's holding you back. I go give it a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, is it going to be for everyone? No. A lot of people who will take my advice will go use it and find something that's wrong with it. Maybe a piece of hardware won't work, or maybe there's a piece of software that they can't get. That's okay. But I think so many more people, if they gave this a try, would be phenomenally happy with it and find their forever distro. I know that I did. Now, I just said that openSUSE is my forever distro, but I'm leaving it behind. Now, it's similar to like going on a 4-year business trip, is the way that I'm looking at this, because I'm going to return to openSUSE as my daily driver in 4 years. 4 years. Now, I know what you're thinking, Matt. Why 4 years? You just did a 2-year challenge. Now you're going to do a 4-year challenge? Kinda. The problem here is that I'm interested in a challenge, and I have some guilt to get off my shoulders. So there are a couple things here that are going to happen. I'm going to be doing 2 2-year Linux challenges, one right after another after this. So technically it'll be 3 right in a row. And we're going to talk about why and all the reasons behind it. So first, let's talk about where I'm going next. Yeah, I'm going to NixOS next. Now, there's some garbage that needs to be put out there, shall we say. So I have a tumultuous reputation with the NixOS community. Or I'm not going to say all of them. The vast majority of them don't know who I am, so that's fine. But there are several people who have stumbled across my channel or watched my channel who have seen me struggle with NixOS in terms of my relationship with their community. Now, I released a video probably 3 or 4 months ago at this point, stating that NixOS was not a real Linux distribution. And I'm not going to take that back. I'm never going to take it back. But I will say that video pissed a lot of people off, and there are apparently some members of that community that find it perfectly okay to leave a death threat in a YouTube comment. Now, YouTube is usually pretty good at pulling that kind of stuff down, and they did in this case. It never reached the public sphere, but in the back end, the YouTuber gets to see that kind of stuff. And it didn't really freak me out. I've gotten that kind of stuff before. It's just kind of the way of doing business on YouTube. Sometimes you just come across someone who thinks that they can do whatever the fuck they want. But it turned me away so much that I pulled that video down. The response to that video was worse than the Linux Mint is useless distro or video, if you can believe that. So I pulled that down, and I said I was done with NixOS, but I'm going to try it for 2 years. Now, let me explain why. So the first reason I'm going to go ahead and do this is I don't want to let the horrendous parts of the NixOS community affect my ability to use this distro. Now, I had a much more colorful thing to say about this thing, and it involved a middle finger and a 4-letter word, but I decided to be a little bit more dull about it. So to all the guys and gals out there who felt it necessary to say horrendous things about me because of my views on NixOS, I'm not going to let you affect me doing my job. So I'm just going to do this. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. The other one, and it's much bigger, the much bigger reason why, and I mentioned it earlier, is that I have some guilt to get off my shoulders. About a year ago or so now, I think probably, I did a video where I basically summed up a 9-month stint of using NixOS on a secondary hard drive and secondary computer. And that review was atrocious. It is so astonishingly bad. And I feel shame about it, because if you go Google, or if you go onto YouTube and search for NixOS review, one of the first results you're going to find is that video, and it is bad. Now, I should probably pull it down, but having something on NixOS is probably better than nothing. But I do feel shame about it and guilt. So what I'm going to do is let that affect me a little bit and have me move into a 2-year challenge where I actually use this distribution. I'm going to use it for 2 years. I'm going to live in it. Unlike before, this is going to be the thing that I use to do my work, to record the podcast, to record the videos, to play games, everything. Everything that I do, I'm going to be doing on NixOS on my main PC. And I think that that's going to change some things. And there's another, third reason why I'm going to do this. I have been interested in NixOS basically from the beginning. There's so many cool things that it does because it is different. I want to learn those things, and I didn't do a good job of learning those things the last time around. I'm going to do better this time. So that is the first 2-year challenge that I'm going to do. I probably should leave it there. It's not a good idea to plan so far ahead when it comes to this kind of thing, but there was another distro that came very close to being the choice. And I really thought about doing this. It's probably the choice I would have made if I hadn't had a NixOS guilt trip on my shoulders. And that distro is Gen 2. Now, I have tried Gen 2 before. I installed it on stream not too long ago. For those of you who said I couldn't do that, nana boo poo. I don't know why so many people doubt me. I can do some things. I'm not a complete moron. But anyways, I adore the idea of Gen 2. I've used it in the past, but I've never used it long term. I really wanted that to be now, but I'm going to do the NixOS thing first, and Gentoo will be my reward for having done NixOS. So I'm going to do NixOS for 2 years, then I'm going to do Gentoo for 2 years. By that time, by the end of that, I'm coming back to openSUSE. I mean, unless I like fall in love with Gentoo, which I don't see happening. I think that's going to be a pretty tough trek for me. I think it's going to be cool, and I'm going to learn a lot, but I don't know that it's going to take over my life like openSUSE did. So we'll see. You notice I didn't think NixOS was going to do that, right? I thoroughly expect my NixOS challenge to be very freaking challenging. Like I really, really expect this thing to have some issues along the way, some bumps in the road, if you will, simply because it's so different. That like I'm expecting things to break. I'm expecting to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, and I'm gonna expect to break stuff myself. I'm gonna expect to go to some of my NixOS friends and ask them for help, like constantly. So if you're one of those guys and you know who you are, I'm going to be in your DMs probably constantly trying to figure this thing out and finally get my head wrapped around what a flake is, home manager, all that stuff. So I don't expect NixOS to ever be my home distro for like forever. I truly do believe that that's openSUSE, but I do really like the idea of a challenge. So we got a couple more challenges ahead of us. So I know that this was a very rambly video and we're upping it to about 30 minutes long. So if you managed to make it all the way through the end, I truly do appreciate you guys doing so. So I should mention, I didn't actually do this. At the end of this video, if you want to stick around, there is going to be a montage of screenshots. I have a screenshot for every single day that I used openSUSE, and there's going to be a montage, like I said, at the end of this video to a little bit of music, no voiceover or anything like that. And it's literally just going to be 721 or 731 screenshots of my system over the course of the last 2 years. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. It's at the end. It's going to be a horrendous thing to edit. I'm going to tell you that right now. I can't believe I'm promising to do it. It's not done yet. So future Matt, you're screwed, dude. I feel so sorry for you. That's 730 screenshots you're going to have to put in order. What's wrong with you? All right. No, they're not named by dates because a lot of the screenshot tools I used during that time didn't name it by dates. Some of them did, not all of them. Fuck me. That's going to be hard. But anyway, stay tuned for that. If you have any comments on any of this stuff, I'd love to hear from you. As long as it's not horrendous things about my choice to use NixOS. I know that's going to disappoint some people, but you've heard my reasons why. So comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I have no idea if I'm going to have any fucking video after that because my computer just went to sleep on its own. All right. Anyways, I'm hoping that I can go and watch this back and there's actually going to be video here at the end. If not, I'll have to re-record it. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to look at here in just a minute. But anyways, comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. You can follow me on Mastodon. That link will be in the video description. You can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/thelinuxcast. There you'll find a weekly exclusive podcast that I put up for all my supporters. I also do that on YouTube, so if you want to join on YouTube, you can do that as well. Basically, it's just me sitting in front of this microphone, BSing for about 15 or 20 minutes every week, talking about random stuff that just kind of pops into my head. So if that kind of thing interests you, head on over there, give me some support. If you want to get something else in return and like something physical, you can go get a hat like this one on my website for my shop, I should say. That's at shop.thelinuxcast.org. There's hats and t-shirts and all sorts of stuff. All the proceeds for that go directly towards helping me make more Linux content for you guys. So thank you so very much for checking that out as well. Thanks everybody who does support me on Patreon and YouTube. You guys are all absolutely amazing. Without you, the channel just would not be anywhere near where it is right now. So thank you so very, very much for your support. Seriously, you guys are just amazing. So thank you so very much. And if you did manage to make it through all 30 minutes of this video, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time from NixOS.